so I do not know what's going on in ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wish them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
Wimbledon is in the history books. We've got a defending champion on the men's side, well, a champion who defended, and then a brand new slam champion in 21-year-old Linda Noskova.
Firstly, I was surprised that she's still only 21. I feel like we've been talking about her for a while. I went to see Linda play at the US Open last year in Arthur Ashe, I believe. And I think it was I was one of probably 17 people in that entire cavernous stadium. I really enjoyed watching her. It was a pretty easy match for her, but it was the first time I'd seen her live, and I just kind of wanted to chill and watch her. I'm glad I did.
So you're trying to take credit for this woman's success?
No, I'm just saying I'm glad I got to see Linda when not a lot of people were interested. I hope they will be a lot more interested now.
She had a hell of a tournament, put on a hell of a show in that final before she was able to overcome herself and right the ship and still get the job done. She was up 6-2, 5-2, a stone's throw from the title, and then that happened.
Yes. Mind you, Noskova had only been broken twice from the round of 16 on, and she's broken for the first time in the final at 6-2, 5-3. Now, Muchova saved 3 match points on her own serve in that game at 5-2. Another one she saved on Noskova's serve. And Noskova had no double faults in the match until that one game at 5-3. And it looked, if you let something like this slip away, what happens in the final set?
More than that, it was watching the match and seeing the shift in play, the shift in demeanor, the frustrations that started to come to the fore. I had to stop myself because I watched the semifinal where she easily beat Kostyuk. And then she's up 6-2, 5-2, playing with the same cool, calm composure. And I'm like, is she always like this? Have I just not watched enough of her matches to have a full, picture? Because this was crazy. How do you do this in the semifinal, in your first semifinal, and then carry that on into the final to be one game away, playing like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw Muchova claw back, when after saving 5 championship points, eventually winning that second set, Noskova looked like a different person. So it's not just that she lost the championship points, it's what she looked like at the end of that second set. She looked like a totally different player. Was she going to be able to get back to the Linda of the first set was the big question, and she was able to do it.
Yeah. Races to a 3-love lead in that final set and never lost the lead for the rest of the set. In the first half of the match, the weight of Linda's shot was just too much for Karolina. And she does a lot of things well, right? Linda moves better than she probably gets credit for. The returning in the first set, she does this kind of block return, chip return. Some of them were deeper. Was really throwing off Muchova, somebody who likes to disrupt rhythm but was getting pounded, essentially. Didn't have the chances to do that.
She also did the I'm just going to blast a winner return.
Right.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
What were you most impressed with Noskova in this match?
Well, it's really just composure. Karolina had beaten Osaka handily, had overcome a lot against Gauff, and I just felt like Muchova was the odds-on favorite because she's been here before. Noskova walked in looking like she's been here before, right? Somehow, when given the chance, she took it. It got a little rocky in the second set, but I think I was just most impressed by her mindset. She didn't let the loss of that set get her down, and I don't know, she came out executing pretty cleanly.
It was an entertaining final. It was an interesting final. I don't know if I would say it was a great final, but it was 3 sets.
It was fun. It was fun to watch. The first set and a half was not that fun for me because I was like, please don't get blown out in this final. Give us something. And Karolina did. Like, saving those 5 match points was absolutely wild. 2 of them on Linda's serve. And then to see Linda walk back to her chair, plugging her ears like Ostapenko, I was like, oh no, this is not good. But there was no collapse.
There was a bit of petulance at the end of that second set, which made me concerned that things were going to go south. With Linda being up 6-2, 5-2, I was sitting there wondering if we were just going to end up with another ho-hum, lopsided Wimbledon women's final, which we've had quite a few of in recent memory. Last year, double bagel.
The worst of last year.
And even the ones that were not necessarily totally lopsided in score, they didn't really deliver, per se.
Yeah, Ons kind of felt like she didn't really show up in that final against Vondrousova.
I mean, of course, we've gotten 3 sets out of Barbora and Jasmine Paolini in 2024. Rybakina went to 3 sets against Jabeur in 2022. Barty 3 sets against Pliskova in 2021. So I mean, it hasn't been an every year kind of thing, but when we've gotten them, they've been just kind of like this would have been.
Yeah, I'm afraid to look pre-pandemic because I see 2 consecutive finals that Serena Williams lost very handily. I'd rather not relive those.
Oh, you don't want to go 1 year even before that?
God, no, that's trauma. You mean Venus and Garby? No. One thing that was really impressive in this final, the Noskova serve on the ad side, out wide, was very, very difficult to handle. And you observed that Karolina started left, right, covering that out wide serve, but then would always cheat right. And she would always get caught. And I think eventually she realized she was doing it, because when you're that far, like, you can't protect the tee. You're like a goalie with a penalty kick. You're just like choosing a side and hoping it's the right one.
Right, but she ended up putting herself in no woman's land to not be able to cover either. It was a head-scratching thing for me to watch.
But the one time she was able to break through, she didn't move to the right. She stepped forward instead, and Noskova hit a fault down the tee. And you saw this in the men's final as well. That guy was extremely effective hitting out wide serves at, 120 miles per hour. There was absolutely no covering it. At that point in men's tennis, you just have to, let them go.
Let's talk about what happened after the match. Both women given the chance to just tell us what you're thinking by Annabelle Croft end up breaking down in tears.
Yeah, this interview format is so awkward. The players don't know if they have free reign to speak and thank all the people they want to thank, but it was rough. Like, both players were in tears. Muchova was devastated by the loss, still managed to be charismatic and funny through all that. Starting with Linda, my ex-friend. Everybody laughed.
Something that guy tried to replicate in his runner-up speech, and to the surprise of no one, was unable to convey the same level of humor and charm because he's devoid of both.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole royalness of it. Kate Middleton coming down, the grand patron of the All Saints England hierarchy, chain of command, legion to the gods committee.
I thought you loved that shit. You're from the Commonwealth.
No, and then she's coming out and then she's shaking every other third ball person.
That's what they do.
Or just randomly picking somebody.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
No, remember when they used to have lesser royals come? That elderly gentleman? I have no idea who he was. He was some duke or something.
Duke of Kent?
Perhaps.
The Duchess of Kent did it for a while.
Perhaps. See, I'm American. I don't know these things. But yeah, they would say hello to 2 or 3 of the ball kids seemingly chosen at random. I don't know what they talk about, but just little niceties. And then they come over. Linda Noskova, toward the end of her speech, thanked her mom and looked upward. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that Linda's mom had died 2 years ago, shortly before Wimbledon, of cancer. 2 years is nothing. It's so recent. Everybody was crying. Everybody in the royal box was crying. It was very affecting.
I guess because she's a 9-time champion, but I was just so tired of seeing Martina on my screen that day.
Yeah. And Billy was there, and a number, Simona Halep, Maria Sharapova, Petra Kvitova, looking lovely, she was there. It was nice to see some former champions, some recent champions, recenter.
More recent?
Yeah.
Even?
You know what I meant. I didn't see Vondrousova, though.
Where? You're a shady bitch. In the semifinals, Noskova beat Marta Kostyuk 6-4, 6-4. It was a ho-hum affair. Kostyuk losing in the semis in the Channel Slam, both at the French and Wimbledon. She did not look great in this one at all. She looked hurried. She looked like the moment was one she felt was hers, and it clearly wasn't going that direction, and so that kind of affected her play. I mean, outside of those two losses, what has she lost in the last few months?
And to reach the semis here at Wimbledon was a huge, huge achievement for her. It does seem like right now, the semis are kind of where she clams up a little bit. But talk about like remaking your career within the span of 2 to 3 months.
You mentioned Muchova being able to get through Gauff in the semifinal, Coco making a surprise run to the semis here, and quite frankly, should have played that final.
Oh, this one was so tough. Okay, so I was watching this on my second screen while I was working. And I realized that we read a stat wrong in the last episode. Coco was actually 25-7 in deciding sets at majors for her whole career. I think the stat we read was looking at like 2023 forward. She was like 21-3 or something. But the odds were good, right? If Coco gets to a third set, she's probably going to pull this thing out. It gets to a match tiebreak. Coco's down 3-6. I still believe. And you could feel it shifting, right? Both players start to trade nervous mistakes. Coco hits a double fault, goes down 7-8. Then Karolina hits 2 errors. Coco's got a match point, 9-8. And to me, it's like, okay, this is in the bag now.
She hits a great serve. It's set up for a +1. It's set up for her to hit an inside-out forehand winner from the middle of the court, or at least for her to be able to get a weak return and a put-away volley to win the match. It was a great, probably as good a position you could be in from the ground.
Right, like she did exactly what she was supposed to do, but
she goes for a drop shot instead and dumps it into the net.
Whew.
Like, that shit would haunt me forever. I don't know where she gets the clarity from at her young age to be able to say in press, well, yeah, it's gonna suck, but I'll get over it. I'm happy to be here. I had fun out there, and I'm happy with the result. Like, well,
and she said she valued being part of something that cool, like that people will remember. And I liked that outlook. I think she will probably be upset about the loss, but I'm glad she wasn't like devastated. Again, this is her first time in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. She had a real chance to get to the final and would have given Noskova a totally different look. Coco came into this tournament with not a new game, but like not even a grass game.
It was just beefed up serve.
Right, just a way to like adapt Coco to the grass. Try to tame the grass rather than vice versa. Right, a beefed up serve, still that janky forehand, but somehow she's making it work. The interesting thing about that semifinal is that Coco played 45 points at the net. That's huge in tennis these days. Even, like the more classic players, that's maybe the most that they'll get to the net. She won like 75% of them. She was at the net more than Muchova. This was like throwback tennis in her own kooky special way.
Not kooky. Karolina Muchova, one of the most polarizing figures in tennis. Yes. She has a lot of haters. She has a lot of ops. And
what has she done?
She has done nothing.
Okay.
But what's at play here is some people take her paltry sum of WTA titles as a way to undercut the way people talk about how great her tennis is. Well, if your tennis is that good, if you're that great, if you're that talented, Why haven't you won anything? People think she's overhyped. And I've always scoffed at that, found those people to be dark-sided and the argument to be so just immature. Because if you watch her play tennis, you can see that she's supremely talented in ways that so many of these other robotic tennis players aren't. She has more natural gifts.
Yeah.
Or I should say gifts that she's developed and worked on, or cultivated.
Creativity.
She can do more things on a tennis court than most people can. Fine. But what I finally understood this past fortnight, and I can relate to it, it's because it's how I felt about Federer at the start of his career and throughout most of his career. The discourse surrounding her elevates her over other people because of the quote-unquote beauty of her game.
Mm-hmm.
She's talked about in pretty much the exact same way Federer's game was talked about. So I get it if you hate her for that reason, because that shit pissed me off back in the day.
Right, but it's not her. Like, she's not an arrogant person. People just... I do totally understand people bristling at, like, all that talk about beauty and aesthetics, because it's like, so what? So show me something. Win something big, right? And then, of course, comparing it to other players whose games you think are ugly and janky and hideous. It's annoying. It bristles.
Well, here she is. She's having the best season of her career. She's up to number 6 in the world. A career high. So...
I mean, I, for one, quite enjoy watching Muchova. Now, going into this final, we heard a lot about the Czech women and their dazzling history at Wimbledon, but just in Grand Slam tennis in general. And we were guaranteed a Czech champion, but I also thought it was cool. We were guaranteed a champion who had saved a match point at some point in the tournament.
It's not a new phenomenon.
It's not, but both, right? Both players had done it. Noskova against Kirstea, Muchova against Gauff. And the Czech tradition in tennis is so cool. Like, Czech-born women have won 15 of the Wimbledon titles played in the Open era. 9 of those were from one person, from Navratilova. Yes, those are credited to the USA, because she did defect to the US in 1975, but born and raised and trained in Czechoslovakia.
One of the highlights of this tournament for me was watching Sorana Kirstea watch Belinda Bencic lose to Coco Gauff. That was great. Sent them both packing on the same day.
I thought I was going to talk about the Czech tradition.
Yes, that just popped into my head. So that was... You mentioned Kirstea. You said her name. Yes. And it just brought that to mind.
Mm-hmm. Your bad-mindedness. I actually think you talked about it on the last episode.
I did?
That's how much it...
That's how much I enjoyed it. You wanted to kind of let the listeners know or remind them of something we'd done in the past with this
partly, yes.
segment.
Yes. We did a long-form episode on Hanna Mandlíková a few years ago, and it entailed a lot of research about Czech tennis history, mainly because I was interested, right? Reporters are constantly asking Czech players, what is it about your country? Like, why does it produce so many great and varied and distinct tennis players, right? There's no, like, Czech style.
Yeah, so?
A lot of the greatness that the country has produced, it traces its roots to investments made during the communist era, during the era of Soviet influence, because sport was incorporated into people's daily lives. It was the symbol of national pride in Czechoslovakia, and it was meant to be like a proof of concept of the economic and political system, that they could produce great athletes through these centralized programs, right? And you saw this in Cuba, of course, in the Soviet Union, in the Eastern Bloc countries. It was a way to say, this system works, look. And during the 20th century, tennis became less bourgeois. It became available to more people. There were a ton of state-owned clubs, training centers, and this started like that generation of Jan Kodesh, Navratilova, Sukova, Mandlíková, and then, of course, it's continued into the modern era, right? So when the communist regime fell in late 80s, early 90s, tennis did actually become a more elite sport. And you saw this effect in other Eastern countries like Poland. There was a lot of brain drain, a lot of coaching talent left, but the Czech Tennis Authority really started to rebound toward the end of the 90s. And even though costs increased for juniors, it became more expensive because it wasn't a centralized system anymore. the secret sauce of Czech tennis is the proliferation of small clubs and world-renowned coaches, famous coaches, all over the country for youngsters to work with. And so you have this historical success, this great tradition, and that's just a virtuous cycle, right? You have coaches who've won big things, you have coaches with experience, players who have pride in Czech history, and it creates like this great camaraderie. Barbora Krejcikova talked about group practice sessions, the opportunities to play as a team are all things that sort of like build that skill set. And I saw this recent story in The Second Serve by Joel Drucker, which talked about style and technique a little bit more rather than tradition. And there's a big emphasis in Czech training on footwork and technique, but a lot of freedom in like how you actually play the game after that. You know, once you master the technique, get yourself in the right positions, what you do is sort of up to you. So it's less about repetitive drills where you hit like 200 backhands in a row. There's a little bit more variation. And you see players, I mean, the variations in style in Czech tennis are vast. You have everyone from Kvitova to Vondrousova to Muchova, Noskova, Pliskova, all very different games, right? There's not really much of a through line, but they place a great emphasis on creativity. So that's what I got to say.
Back to Noskova, one half of the impetus for that segment. She's up to number 7 in the world. The first time we mentioned Linda, was it the first time?
I looked it up because I was curious.
Yeah, but we could have said her name. That's how we did.
Oh, possibly.
One of the first times we mentioned her on the show was our 2023 opener, which would be 3.5 years ago at this point. It was framed under this idea of the Lindas are coming. And at that point, we had kind of lumped her into the same basket as Fruhvirtova.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another Linda.
Well, there was Linda Fruhvirtova and her sister Brenda.
No, but there was another Linda.
Oh, okay.
There were 3 Lindas. I forget who that Linda was. But there wasn't a whole lot of differentiation between them at that point to say, well, this one's definitely going to be the one or the best of the lot. At that time, she had just reached the final in Adelaide 1 as a qualifier, losing to Sabalenka. She cut her ranking in half from 102 to 56. Then in early 2024, she reached the semifinals of Brisbane, losing to the champion Rybakina. And then her big breakout moment was beating Iga Swiatek at the Australian Open. The third round before reaching the quarterfinals.
So Linda's been coming, and it's felt like a while, but the fact that she's only 21 still surprises me.
On the men's side, Jannik Sinner defended his title, beating that guy in 4 sets. 6-7, 7-6, 6-3, 6-4. His 5th slam title overall. This final was a lot.
It was a little dicey for a while, was it not?
It was a serve bot extravaganza in the first 2 sets. And what was different about this final, at least for the first set, was this guy was playing better.
Yes.
The feckless ATP Tour have created an even bigger monster because he's not afraid of any of these other little boys anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can't push him to the point where he's going to break down. And winning in Paris, you could make the argument that he won because neither Jannik nor Carlos were there as obstacles at the end. Regardless, he benefited from that experience because he's leveled up. Unfortunately for him, that level is still quite a few levels below Jannik, who wasn't even playing close to his best.
Yeah. The sad truth is that guy is not a pusher anymore. It's very annoying. And I know I've been telling you guys that I don't watch his matches. Unfortunately, I had to watch a lot of his matches because I still have to do my job, right? And I did watch the entire men's final. He was playing toward the peak of his ability for the first 2 sets, I would say. Jannik was not playing super well. So this creates a scenario where a few points can shift it, right? If this is serve bot tennis.
A few points here or there, and he has a 2-set-to-love lead, which then becomes a daunting task.
Right, because then we got to talk about the length of matches and Jannik's a record past a certain time. You know the magic number. I'm not even going to say it again.
Thank God he got through this match 2 minutes below that
Right.
magic cutoff period where he's just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because the thing here is, even if Jannik won this match in 3 hours and 52 minutes, the stat would then become Jannik Sinner is 0-9 in matches that go longer than 3 hours and 52 minutes.
Oh, right.
You'll
Right.
always be able to push it back further. So this stat was always a little bit misleading, but there was some utility to it.
Mm-hmm. Also, he's still young. He's done a lot of winning, but he's still young in his career. And we know that he and the team are really, really working to find the solution. At this tournament, weather was not very much of an issue, but he wasn't playing his best. His forehand was off. He was getting through matches because of his serve in large part. And I would argue that I don't even know if he needed to find his absolute peak during this final. He needed to level up. And the final, to be fair, was pretty high quality throughout. But I don't know that Jannik ever needed to find his top gear.
He just needed to find his comfortable, effective return position. He just needed to get more balls in play on return. Once he started to do that, then the whole tenor of the match changed.
Yes.
You said that guy is not a pusher anymore. Well, he sure did push in those tense moments in the third and fourth set.
You see him reverting sometimes, right? Some of those epic points toward the end, some of them were great, but some of them were long because that guy started falling back on what was comfortable, in my view. There were times he could have gone for the kill, and his choice was to play it safe and keep the ball in play.
I tell you this, he thought he was about to do his big one.
Ooh.
After he won that first set.
After that first set?
The scream. He scrimped. Let's go!
Because you saw his serve had Jannik flummoxed. And it can be really cool to watch a player just think through a match. Sometimes they never find it, right? But Jannik was moving all over the place, trying to figure out a comfortable place to return this serve. The New York Times said for a lot of it, he was in what they called Medvedevshire, which meant really, really, really far back.
What was frustrating to me about watching him go through that was just how much time he spent looking to the box, looking for answers from the box. We've seen so many of the great players figure this shit out on their own. The prime example is Rafa Nadal.
That's not the example I would use, actually. Rafa did a lot of chatting to his box.
He would chat to them, but the troubleshooting on court, a lot of that was his doing.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to return position. Granted, he was stubborn for a lot of it, and that led to him being in deficits in certain situations, but he often found a way to come back in those matches. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things about tennis that he liked the most. And so if you're going to be a truly great player, this is part of it. You can't be getting ball bashed around the court by that guy.
Right, by somebody who has actually never shown great proficiency on grass, but who was serving so well and unfortunately hitting his forehand so well. That's not even his strength, that you were kind of getting bullied for a little bit of it. That guy was the aggressor for most of the first two sets. And that's not really something you see with Jannik Sinner very often. I know he's been working on his drop shots a lot. Stop.
Please.
At least in this match, there were points where it was like, no, why are you trying to bail out of this point with a failed drop shot?
He won that third set 6-3, but if he had lost it, it would have been entirely his fault.
Yep.
He had love 30 on one of that guy's service games early in the third set. The point to go love 40 up, stupid drop shot, and then has a terrible ground stroke miss. Didn't end up breaking in that game, and it felt there was a bit of casualness, a bit of cockiness about him in that moment, that he had completely demolished him in the second set tiebreak, and he felt the match was turning in his tide, and he was a little bit too overconfident. That's how I read it in that moment.
Okay.
And it ended up not costing him the match. But the drop shot was a big part of him squandering certain opportunities in this match. And I just don't know if it's something he should be deploying as often as he did in this match. Because that guy moves well.
Right. Or, I mean, maybe he's just learning how and when to deploy it. You know, it takes time. That guy slipped in the third set, sort of overextended his knee. I know people were asking, did that affect the outcome of the match? To me, it was unclear. It felt to me already that the momentum had shifted pretty significantly toward Jannik at that point, but I felt like it was only fair to mention it. Not that he deserves fairness, but...
Okay. It also seemed that every time Jannik slipped in a point, he won it.
He won, even if he was on his ass, he won it.
We have about a handful of haters who support that guy. That for some reason, you show up in Spotify comments to be talking about that guy and like goading us into, oh, he's gonna win. I can't wait to have you have to talk about him winning. Like, great look for you to be out here defending this guy.
But also,
great, fabulous.
We
look.
don't have to do anything.
No.
You know, like, I'm talking about him by choice right now because he lost. And the things, well, one person in particular didn't like what we said during the French Open. To quote the Core 4 on Love Island, I'll say it again. I'll do it again.
What was
if
that
I
about?
could relive it over. Well, basically our presumption of guilt.
Of that guy?
Yes.
Okay, well, okay.
Whack him again.
I thoroughly enjoyed sets 3 and 4. That's all I have to say. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And the clarity that this gave us, that he's still not as good as he thinks he is. He's better than we thought he was.
Yes, and improved, honestly.
But he's still a ways to go, babe.
Yeah. I need Carlos to get his ass back here because I posted something and I don't know if it was like fully understood. I don't think I expressed myself well. Back in the day, for most of men's tennis, you had people to keep the riffraff out of the late stages. And of course, there were like surprising quarterfinalists and semifinalists. I'm not talking about like morally good people. I'm just talking about you had good players to keep the not good players out of late stages. And now you don't really have that in men's tennis. We're relying on 2 people. That's it. One of them is out.
Yeah, I did not understand where you're going with that.
No shade to Arthur Ferry, but like somebody had to beat him before that. That's crazy.
Well, Grigor should have, and he didn't.
Exactly.
No, but that's just a function of the Big Four era, plus Stan, plus Del Potro, plus this person, plus that person.
And
like,
now?
Well,
and now?
Well, no, we don't have that.
Exactly.
But what era are you talking about? The last 20 years?
The last 40 years?
No, not the last 40 years. You clearly did not watch men's tennis in the 90s.
Well, we're not... Sorry, I'm not
clearly
talking about that very poor patch.
But also all those years at the French Open. Like, I just didn't think...
Oh, that's different.
I think that
the
was
French
just a very specific period that's clouding your judgment on that.
Okay.
Be mad about him being in these positions. That's totally valid, but I just didn't know if that didn't quite work for me.
I think part of it was regret because, you know, we did sort of complain about like the dominance of Sin Caras, and now it's kind of what I would prefer, given the alternative.
What's at play here, what he's benefiting from, is the cushion of the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game to be a top 2 seed rather than the 3 or 4 and having to go through another round of barrier. Like now he's one of the top dogs according to the seed. He's one of the top 2 players. He is where he should be according to his seed. And we know that he's beating everybody below him.
Yeah.
Taylor Fritz was injured. That was the one person to possibly do it. Ends up eating a bagel in that third set.
Taylor, who had won 7 in a row against that guy, goes out easily and then says he injured his knee in, I guess, the third game of that match. That was too bad. Disappointing. But, like, there's nobody. There's nobody out there, right?
I mean, it's also a good fortune. Who is to say Felix wouldn't have done it? Felix took Djokovic to the brink.
Yeah. I don't even really want to talk about that.
But I'm just saying it's the luck of the draw as well, is what I'm saying with this guy.
Yeah.
In these last 2 majors specifically. Novak Djokovic is in a purgatory of sorts. We've talked about this on the show before. He is able to roll up to these events, get to the semifinals, but he can't go further. His body will not allow him to go further. He said it at this tournament that he just feels a step slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To be fair, he did make the Australian Open final.
Sure.
But he didn't play for months after that.
And now his ranking is at a point now where he's going to have to play a tough match a round earlier, likely. This time he had to play Felix in the quarterfinals, 5 hours and 10 minutes, to then have to come back to try and beat Jannik Sinner. It's not going to happen.
Right. In response to this question about the 25th slam being his, quote, ultimate goal, he said a lot of things, but he said, quote, I would simply be grateful if people respected my space, my time, and my decisions. If it comes, it will come. But that was after he sort of, he wasn't happy with the question. And he told the reporter as much, that those are your words, not mine. I never said this was my ultimate goal. So let's start there. Just a credit to Ben Rothenberg, who got a Serbian to English translation professionally. Novak said a lot of interesting things in his Serbian press, kind of about where his career is at.
He said, quote, I anticipate the ball and know where it's going. Mentally, I'm there, but my body feels slowed down. Then you feel as though you are constantly half a step slower than the player on the other side of the net. That drives me mad. This knowing that you still have the ability, but your body just won't allow you to do it. It's something all the greats have to deal with at these points of their career.
He continued, that is simply the situation. I will continue with an optimistic mindset, trying to create a path forward for myself and represent my country as well as I can. We will see how long that continues. And I think an athlete should play for as long as they want to. He's at a point where he knows what to do. He knows how to read a point. He knows how to stay in long matches, but his body is not allowing him to. He feels a step slow. And like you said, this comes for everybody. And for him, it came much later than most. He's 39 years old. But if you're him, I don't know, like, how long can your ego survive that?
When he said trying to create a path forward for myself and represent my country as well as I can, I think we've downplayed how much the nationalistic pride is at play here for him. Because Serena's not out here coming back at 44 to play for the United States.
No.
American players, they just don't do that. How many players are playing for their country in this individualistic sport? I do genuinely believe that's been a huge motivating factor for him specifically during his career. This idea of putting Serbia on the map, representing Serbia on a global stage. It's why Jamaicans are so proud of their sporting achievements overseas. They're not just athletes, they're Jamaican athletes. American tennis players, they're just tennis players.
Right. And they also treat him like he's a messianic figure. That has got to be hard to give up.
He's also put himself in positions in the past to be able to be then lionized as such.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to doubles. The men's doubles was won by Patten and Heliovara, beating Pavic and Arevalo in 2 tie breaks. This comes off the back of the ATP announcing plans to significantly cut the draw sizes of doubles and prize money starting in 2028. It would reduce doubles prize money from 20% of a tournament's prize money purse to 10%, and it would cut the draw size in half. So going from 32 teams at Masters to 16, and only 8 in the 500s and the 250 level.
That's cutting jobs. That's firing people.
It's pretty drastic.
Those are layoffs.
Exactly.
Redundancies.
Right. Henry Patten decided to use the opportunity of this speech to criticize the proposed changes, and he spoke very articulately, like clearly he thought about what he was going to say.
He said, quote, I believe we should be growing opportunities in tennis for kids, whether they are doubles players, singles players, British, Finnish, from El Salvador or Croatia, wherever they are from. We should be growing the sport instead of taking opportunities away. Patten also trolled the troller-in-chief, Riley Opelka, on Instagram, after Riley posted a photo of a sparsely attended doubles match, captioning it, #SaveDoubles. Patten posted a nearly empty stadium at an Opelka match, captioned, #SaveOpelka.
It was just a great way to call out the hypocrisy there, because Riley benefits from being a singles player. And the thing is, Riley Opelka is not really selling tickets anywhere, right? You can argue about what the ATP has done with doubles, where the fault lies, whether it's just or not. But you can't argue that Riley is just a mean and nasty person. There was no reason to troll this.
In women's doubles, the number 10 seed and former number 10 ranked player in singles.
What?
Kristina Mladenovic.
Number 10?
Yeah, she was a top 10 player.
Oh, we've been on the air too long. Mladenovic and Guo beat the number 2 seeds Dabrowski and Stefani 6-3, 7-5 for Kiki's 10th slam title. Let's celebrate that. And her first since Roland Garros in 2022.
Will she retire with as many slam trophies as languages that she speaks?
Well, she's on her way. Not quite.
They also took out the number 1 team, Siniakova and Townsend, in the quarterfinals. Those two had been on a purple patch.
Yeah. And I remember earlier in the tournament, people were saying those two basically have no competition anymore. It's just their show in women's doubles.
In mixed doubles, Yelena Ostapenko and Arevalo beat Polmans and Hunter. This is both Penko and Arevalo's first major title in mixed doubles, and this comes after Ostapenko had a huge dust-up in the quarterfinals with one of the scammers-in-chief, Laura Siegemund, and Edouard Roger Vasselin.
And this one wasn't even Penko's fault. Siegemund was called for a time violation toward the end of that match, and they lost. And then they, for some reason, came for Ostapenko saying, you take way too much time all the time and you never got called for it. I'm just saying, like, a hit dog will holler every time. We've all seen Laura play. You know she takes way too much time. She plays with the clock. You play at her pace, no matter what, whether she's serving or returning. For Roger Vasselin to get in Yelena's face and have this little argument is very déclassé to me.
It was
it was very tacky.
It was giving Peter Thomas.
Oh, like, why are you in women's business?
Yes.
And Ostapenko was right. And people observed that she almost gave a direct quote of what Taylor Townsend told her last year at the US Open. She said, you need to learn how to lose better. She's right. You know, maybe she is learning. Because, damn, we did give her hell for that.
Learning or continuing to appropriate?
Or, you know, taking in those learnings and using them as a weapon. But I will say she was right in this situation.
Quite a few coaching changes after Wimbledon. Felix Auger-Aliassime, Daniil Medvedev, and Jiří Lehečka all split with their coaches. Felix had been working with Frederick Fontang for 10 years, since he was 16 years old. Daniil had been working with Thomas Johansson, and Lehečka had been working with Michael Navratil for 8 years.
Yeah, Felix is the shocker here, just because Fontang has been just a fundamental part of his growth since he was young. But
it makes sense, though.
I know.
If after the French Open he felt that he wasn't where he should be in his career, something has to give. It's often not from the player. Like, they're not going to be that introspective to then make a change.
No, but like both Felix and his sister made really heartfelt posts about Frederick, and I clearly there's a close relationship there, but so many of these guys have been depressed. Dumonar, after this tournament, these guys are torn up about where their careers are.
Well, he fucked off and got married.
So what's wrong with that?
You said he was depressed.
Oh, but I mean, after he lost, he was super depressed. And same with Felix during Roland Garros. Some of these guys who were like mid-20s, late 20s, who were almost promised, like, you're going to be something big. They're waiting for it. And now with Carlos out, they're missing their opportunities. I get it. I wanted to talk about the Wimbledon expansion. I don't know if anyone cares about this, but it was on our opening agenda and you punted it.
Yeah, because we had enough material for that episode.
So you may have heard that the All England Club is trying to expand the Wimbledon site, which is famously quite small for what it's grown into. And what's in question here is right across Church Road in Wimbledon. It's a former golf course. It's a very large site, literally across the street, where they'd like to add 38 new courts and an 8,000-seat stadium. This would be the new home of the Wimbledon qualifying tournament, which currently happens in Roehampton, which is about a 10-minute drive from the All England Club. And, the big thing here is that they estimate that daily attendance to Wimbledon could increase from 37,000 to 50,000. So think about how much that's worth. It's been a saga. In September 24, the Greater London Authority granted the All England Club permission to go ahead. This was challenged by the Save Wimbledon Park group. And last year, walking from Wimbledon to the metro station, or the train station, we saw all those signs of Wimbledon residents not wanting the expansion. And they argued that the parkland was protected by what's called a statutory trust, meaning that the land must be used for public recreation. Now, if you're still following, earlier this year, in March, the UK's High Court ruled against those folks, saying that the land was previously being used for a private golf course, was never planned as a public space, so you can't really use that. Now it's with the Court of Appeal, all right? So they're very close, but it's with the final authority.
This has been going on for a very long time.
Yes.
The All England Lawn and Tennis Club bought the Wimbledon Park golf course land from Merton Council in 1993. That's 33 years ago, and still there hasn't been any movement on this stuff.
Yeah. No, but at the time, they signed a covenant agreeing that they would not use the land, quote, other than for leisure or recreational purposes or as an open space. Now you have to wonder, what was Merton Council thinking? Why would the All England Club buy this huge parcel of land for nothing to say that they don't want to use it to make money off of? Why would they do that?
They bought the land in 1993, and then in 2018, they bought the actual golf club. The Save Wimbledon Park group cites environmental concerns, the lack of consultation of local residents, and unwillingness to compromise, and setting a precedent for development of green spaces across London. Experts say that the All England Lawn and Tennis Club plans to plant 5 times more trees than they plan to destroy.
So, it looks like if the Court of Appeals rules the same way that the High Court ruled, the expansion of Wimbledon will probably go ahead. I think the Save Wimbledon Park folks have run out of legal challenges, but I don't know the UK legal system like that, so maybe there's another Hail Mary. Unfortunately, I think what's not in their favor is that Wimbledon, the tournament, has been there longer than any living person has been alive. They live in a very wealthy area. It's really hard to engender empathy for people in multi-million-dollar homes who are just dealing with, 2 or 3 weeks a year of this massive tennis tournament. I don't know. But I do understand the precedent setting of destroying green spaces around the city.
Yeah, but I don't feel like those people are using that argument in good faith.
Okay, well.
It's a good argument that will appeal to folks like yourself.
Because, I live in downtown Toronto and I look around and I'm looking for green space and I don't see it. And that's the sacrifice you make living in downtown of a major city. But Wimbledon is not the center of London.
Ultimately, was this a journey that you enjoyed or did not enjoy these past 2 weeks?
Oh, a lot of great things happened. Naomi making it farther than she ever did. Coco putting on a show in the semifinals, getting so close. Muchova reaching her second slam final. I really enjoyed watching what Noskova could do. One thing we didn't mention was her hands. This two-handed volley. Just her, again, this word creativity that she has. I'm so excited for her. And the fact that we have another major champion on the women's side. Overall, it was fun. It could be worse.
Certainly could have been worse.
right? We know, like we've lived through it. We know it could be worse.
And also for it to have been the Channel Slam, one of the things that in the lore of tennis, in the history of tennis, is talked about as one of the most difficult things to do.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not anymore, but to quote Nene Leakes, they're declassing the show. Can you imagine a Channel Slam? No.
That brings us to the end of episode 430 of The Body Serve. My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Blue Sky at Tennis John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's. Everything Body Serve related can be found at linktree.com/thebodyserve. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.